So this can be for about 2 days before your period starts. So this is the real kind of peak PMS, depression, complete, just you feel like you've gone AWOL. Your body is giving you these signals. You think that you're craving just the food that you want, but it's not. It's your body's actually giving you the signals that it needs certain vitamins and minerals. He'd massage my back, he'd hold my hair back while I'd be puking over the toilet. Then I had another guy years ago who told me that I was disgusting and was trying to kick me out of the car for having a period.
Welcome to P&P, the Partners in Positivity podcast, where
Aisling Burnett
and myself, Sarah Harty, warriors of EBP, SBP, DHBs, that's emotionally bulletproof, spiritually bulletproof, divine human beings, aim to wake up and shake up the nation through positivity, humor, and shared wisdom.
Before we get stuck into another awesome episode, we just want to let you know that we have a donation page if you wish to support the podcast and help us to continue providing more amazing episodes for you. If you want to Google Partners in Positivity, you'll find our Buzzsprout site, and on there you can find a support button. You can click on that and support to your heart's content, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly subscription. We really appreciate all the donations that we get. Thanks so much. Enjoy the episode.
Today on the Irish and international stage of our P&P podcast, we have another unique and supreme divine human being. A woman who dances every time she helps one of her clients get their period back. A woman who is building period playlists as part of her up-and-coming women's wellness courses. And a woman who goes after the root cause of hormone imbalances. This powerfully educational and gracefully female-focused lady is Órla O'Flaherty from Orla's Happy Hormones podcast. Orla is a naturopath, herbalist and expert on female health and wellness. And we are so grateful we were graced with an hour of our time to discuss 4 stages of the female cycle, foods that support the stages, hormone imbalances, and many, many other great things that will help women understand their bodies better. Partners in Positivity, please help us welcome Órla O'Flaherty. Welcome. Finally, we have Órla O'Flaherty on our podcast. She's a fellow podcaster of Orla's Happy Hormones for the last 2 years, and we have been following her since last year. We've been waiting for this opportunity to hear your voice on our podcast and to be able to educate women and men across Ireland and beyond on female health. So thank you so much, Orla. Oh my God, my heart is beating 100 miles an hour here. I'm so happy this day has come. How are you this morning? And most importantly, where are you in your cycle?
I think that is the best intro ever. Hello, girls. Thank you so much for having me on. I am so excited to be on and to actually finally have face-to-face with you, because I've been following you myself and I love everything that you do. So where am I in my cycle? I am day 21 of my cycle. So I'm in my luteal phase, which means I'm in my autumn phase. So it's my wind down time now. So it is. That's the first time anyone's ever asked me that coming into a podcast. And I love that question. I love it.
I'm so happy. Where am I? I think I'm on day about 17. I'm into my autumn, all right. I'm just after ovulating. Lovely. What about you, Ash?
I'm on day 3. I'm in my winter, and you know, the bleed has gone fine, and I'm just being really soft with myself, and life is great.
Lovely. Well, I love the fact that you have that awareness around being in your winter, and in your winter month or your winter time, you need to go into hibernation mode, and you need to just conserve that energy and do what it is that feels best for you in that time. And for you, Sarah, like, you know, you're just heading into your autumn, into your luteal, so you know yourself that it's that little wind down time, but you've still got a little bit of energy left from ovulation, I would presume.
Now, I want to point out right now that the only reason I know about the luteal phase, or that terminology for the second half of your period or the second half of the month, is from you. So thank you so much for your education. I listened to one of your podcasts last year. I can't recall the name, but every one of them are brilliant. And you explained in detail what we go through on a monthly basis, our cycle, the two core phases that we go through. And I'd love for you to even just teach us some basics. We chatted to a couple of our friends, a couple of women before this podcast, and even the basics thereafter.
Brilliant. Get me talking about periods and cycles and everything. I'm all in. So with our menstrual cycle, we have 4 stages. We have menstruation, which is our bleed, and it's also known as our in other terminology known as our winter time. And this is a time when we really have to think of it like winter. Think of animals in winter. They hibernate. Think of the bear. It needs to go into the darkness. It needs to really conserve its energy, eat food. This is not a time to be restricting the foods that you're eating. And with our different phases, like there's different foods that actually support the different phases of the cycle. So especially in your winter time and in your menstruation, you really should be upping your carb intake. So the likes of sweet potatoes, like all the good nourishing root veggies, so sweet potato, beetroot, carrots, parsnips, but beetroot in particular because it contains nitric oxide, and it's also what's known as a blood building food. And because you're losing blood with your bleed, like you're losing your vital life force, and you really need to nourish that with those kind of foods. As well, this is the time when your intuition will be a little higher right now, and more so in your luteal phase, and I'll get to that. But your intuition will be a little higher. You can really tell what's going on around you, if something is going to support you or not support you. And that gut instinct is quite high during this time. So listen to that gut instinct. So if you feel like you need to say no to someone, if you've made plans and all of a sudden your period has started, you're like, do you know what? No, I actually can't do this. Respectfully, I'm sorry that I can't make it, but this is what's going on for me. And I really need to conserve my energy here. Because if you don't conserve your energy during your menstruation, that's when we're seeing problems like PMS then coming up to the next cycle, but as well, even PMS symptoms around ovulation. So during your period, that's the time when you're really to conserve that energy. Then after your bleed, you're heading into your follicular phase. So this is when you're getting ready to ovulate. And this time is when you have your energy levels start coming back. You start feeling a hell of a lot more sexy. You start feeling your best. You start feeling like you can do, if there's any sort of project in work or in life or whatever that's going on for you, this is the time to like go get it. If you can plan your meetings, like your big meetings and your big projects around your follicular phase, heading up into ovulation, this is the time to do it. During this time, again, because you've just gone through your bleed, carbs again, so good, healthy, nourishing root veggies, oats, all that jazz. Then when you're coming up to ovulation, this is when your estrogen and testosterone are starting to really rise and peak. And then once the egg is released, so this is something that a lot of women don't realize, is that we have a 5-day window of fertility, or 5 to 6 day window of fertility. So once the egg is released, you're now in ovulation. I should go back. I'm jumping over and back, so I'm excited myself. So the follicular phase is known as your springtime. So if you think of it as spring, this is when things are starting to bud, things are starting to come out, and there's new life. And then you're heading into your ovulation. So then once the egg is released, that egg is only viable for 12 to 24 hours. And then after that, conception isn't possible. We do say in clinic, just to be on the safe side for women who don't want to conceive, like give yourself a good 48 hours after ovulation, just to be on the safe side. But technically, you've got a 12 to 24 hours for that egg to be viable. The reason you have a 6-day window is because sperm survives in the reproductive tract for up to 5 days. So if you're having sex before ovulation, that's your fertility, your fertile time. Then once the egg is gone, 24 hours after the egg is gone, you can no longer conceive. But during ovulation, what happens as well is that once the egg is released, your progesterone levels start coming up. because progesterone is produced in what's known as the corpus luteum. So that's once the egg has burst out of the follicle, a new structure forms called the corpus luteum, and that's where your progesterone is made. In the last maybe 15 to 20 years, the likes of lower progesterone is a lot more common, but especially in the last 18 months because of the world that we're living in. There's so much stress, and excess cortisol can stop ovulation. And if you stop ovulation, then you're stopping your progesterone levels. And it's progesterone that's your feel-good hormone. It's a natural antidepressant. So when your progesterone is low, your estrogen is automatically going to be a little bit higher. And that's when you're getting those PMS mood swings, anxiety, agitation, irritation. So we really have to focus on looking at the most optimum ovulation every month. So then you're heading in, once you've ovulated, you're heading into your luteal phase, which is your autumn time. So that's where I am. That's where you are, Sarah. And your progesterone levels are starting to go up. Really what we need here is a lot of fats in your diet, because it's fat that's really going to help support the progesterone coming up, because fat and protein are the two crucial building blocks for hormone production, but then as well for conception. So you need to make sure that your progesterone levels are as optimum as possible if you are trying to conceive, so that the embryo can embed in the womb. But this time, so looking at increasing your fats, but then emotionally wise, like I know I said, when you're in your winter phase, your intuition is high. Luteal phase, this is peak time. Whenever I have clients or even friends talking to friends, and they're like, oh, this is coming up, and if it's the same thing is coming up every month during your luteal phase, that is your gut instinct. Like there is that science-backed evidence now with the gut-brain axis, like we really do need to listen to our guts. But as women, we do have that sixth sense, especially around our luteal phase. It's paying attention to your dreams, paying attention to those gut feelings. Like even myself, a couple of years ago, about 2 to 3 years ago, for a good 6 to 8 months, every month, the same thing was coming up. And I was like, I feel like I'm going crazy thinking like this. And then a few months passed, and I actually found out, I was like, oh no, I was right. I was actually right. So it's always great when you can actually kind of click back in and be like, no, I was right with that gut instinct. I was right with that good gut feeling. So it's one thing I always say to women, is listen to that gut feeling, especially in your luteal phase, because it's so important. So yeah, your fats, and listen to your gut for your luteal and your autumn phase. And then there's another phase. It's the dark night. It's known as. So this can be for about 2 days before your period starts. So this is the real kind of peak PMS, depression, complete, just you feel like you've gone AWOL and you've no motivation, you've no nothing. So many women have this, especially with PMS, but it's really what I try to get women to do is track their cycles and track their moods throughout their cycles. And then over like a 2 to 4 month period, if you're getting these feelings on the same time every month, it can be helped. Like there's loads of things that can help, and I'll go through that. But even just having the awareness that it's not going to last, that it is going to pass. And it's that I feel is one of the most crucial things for people to understand, is that nothing in life is permanent, and it's the same in your menstrual cycle, and it's the same with PMS. Nothing is permanent, and it will pass. And it's just being able to hold on for that moment, and then getting the tips that are going to help you through that. Sorry, I feel like I've just rambled on.
Every word you speak, I'm glued. I'm glued. Yeah, I'm like, oh, let me just absorb every breath she takes. That's brilliant. And you know what? We're so aligned or so connected, because I gave the same advice to a friend the other day, that nothing in life is permanent. And I say to myself, this too shall pass, because I always in those phases say to myself, oh no, but Sarah, last month at this time, she was grand. Like, so that'll come back. Like, I'm not going to stay here forever. And you have your ups and downs and your dips. But what I want to just chat about is those 2 days before your period comes. And what I want to chat about is that I love that you called it the dark night. But before that, you said about listen to your intuition. You're most powerful then, like connect to yourself. And I just have a question or confusion with myself over that. So I learned so much from your podcast. I remember checking back with myself over a period of like 4 or 5 months. I had a boyfriend at the time. We were doing the podcast as well. And I remembered the day before my period came, I felt the most crazy. And in terms of recording podcasts, there was days I was sweating on the podcast thinking this is going to be terrible, but it didn't affect the actual podcast. But inside I was like trembling and sweating and everything. And then I remember even a day before my period came, the boyfriend I had at the time had booked me in for like a massage, and I couldn't even enjoy the massage because I was too hypersensitive or my mind wouldn't stop. But when I look back, yeah, like what you said about the dark night, my weirdest, craziest, hard days were the day before my period. But how do you know what's right or wrong in terms of listening to the intuition, but then you go through the harder part of the pressure in your body just before the period comes?
Yes. So yeah, I completely get what you're asking there. And it can be hard sometimes. So especially with the dark night, with those 2 days beforehand where you really feel like you are going crazy. And it's a horrible place to be. And like, I get it myself. It used to be a hell of a lot worse before, but every now and then it still creeps up. And it's having the awareness that you're like, okay, no, wait, I've kind of gone to that extra level now. So it's about having to really kind of pull things back and create a little kind of nest for yourself. I used to say cocoon, but then unfortunately the pandemic ruined that word for me. So I'm like, you create a little nest for yourself where you can go and you can journal and you can actually get everything out of your head. And if you're still feeling wiry and anxious, then you know, okay, no, these are actually my hormones. My estrogen is way too high. I don't have enough progesterone to balance that out. So it's for those 2 days kind of beforehand. But prior to that, if you are having the same kind of gut feeling, same intuition, then they're the ones that you should be looking at if it's the same thing month on month.
Brilliant. And I love that you taught us about what to eat as well, the fats and the proteins. I didn't know that either, or I didn't know that the progesterone is an antidepressant and we need that.
Yeah, well, we need progesterone so much. It is a natural antidepressant. And then like estrogen, poor estrogen, it's got a terrible rap, so it does. But estrogen is a phenomenal hormone as well. And it's there for a reason, and it gives us the drive, it gives us motivation. But it's just when it's in excess and then that the progesterone isn't there. Because when you're looking at estrogen and progesterone, it's a weighing scales. So when the estrogen is up here and the progesterone is down here, what we need to do is bring the progesterone up, and then the estrogen will automatically come down as well, and it helps to balance itself out. But estrogen is a natural appetite suppressant. So like, you know, that's why say in the first half of your cycle, your appetite isn't going to be as big. And then when we're coming up to the second phase of our cycle, that's when the appetite is getting bigger and bigger. And then there's certain cravings that you're having is because of certain mineral deficiencies. If you're craving anything and you have an insatiable hunger where you can't actually fill that void, that's a sign that you're lacking in zinc. So you really need to up the zinc, and zinc is a crucial mineral for progesterone, for ovulatory function, and for then creating progesterone. And then if you're craving the likes of chocolate, it's magnesium that you need, because your body is about to start going into a spasmodic state, and magnesium is antispasmodic. Then the likes of bread and pastas, it's selenium that you need. So yeah, there's your body is giving you these signals. You think that you're craving just the food that you want, but it's not. It's your body's actually giving you the signals that it needs certain vitamins and minerals.
Yeah, there's so much to be said for the marketing of what females need around menstrual cycle and chocolate and things like that, because we actually started drinking the 100% grade cacao over the last couple of years, and we love it. But we know that the best nutrients, magnesium and all that, are in that rather than 20% chocolate, where it's mainly sugar. And
exactly.
But it's a natural instinct. Your body does crave it. It's not just because we want sugar, or chocolate.
It's because cacao has such a high content of magnesium, and chocolate, it comes from the cacao bean. So we are going to crave chocolate, but unfortunately it's just the quality that's out there. But I love the fact that you drink the 100% grade cacao. Is it the ceremonial cacao?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I get a little buzz off that, so I do.
So do we.
Perfect. I love it.
We incorporate Wim Hof.
Yeah. Yes.
It's brilliant.
That's amazing, Orla. Thanks. I've learned so much already, even though I've listened before, and it's just always amazing. And I love how you deliver the information. It's so nice to hear you with your Irish voice and so soft, and everything's always okay. I love that. So we had two questions that came in. One was from Gillian McGann. I think you've actually covered that. It was, Sarah listened to a podcast and you said the day before your period is probably when you're the craziest.
Mm-hmm.
But about listening to those crazy thoughts, and she wanted to know, is your intuition at its highest because you're connected to infinite intelligence, or what's that about?
Yeah, 100%. But as well as that, on a physiological level, when we're looking at when we're looking at the body and we're looking at hormones, it's not just estrogen, progesterone, testosterone that I talk about. A lot of the time I'm talking about your stress hormones. So your stress response. And when you're in your luteal phase, you're tuned in more to that fight or flight response. So to the autonomic nervous system, so we can pick up on danger a hell of a lot quicker when we're in our luteal phase, because of that connection in with the adrenal glands, in with the nervous system, and with that autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So our nervous system can pick up on signals so much quicker in the luteal phase.
Very good. That's very clear. I like it. Thanks.
No problem.
Then there was one from Marie Scully, and she asked, can you talk generally about hormone imbalances and why they happen, and is there anything that we can do to help them?
Yeah, there's loads that we can do to help them, and they're so common. And when we're looking at hormone imbalances, again, it's what is the imbalance and what's the cause of the imbalance? So for me as a naturopath and herbalist, my main goal is to look for the cause. What's the root problem? I don't like in all treatment, be it allopathic or be it holistic, we do use symptomatic treatment. Like I use symptomatic treatment, but I'm always trying to get to the root cause to fix the underlying issue. Predominantly when we're looking at hormone imbalances, so for the likes of PMS and all that, we're looking at, again, excess estrogen, low progesterone. But what's causing that? What we are seeing now, again, especially in the last 2 years, is the stress response. It's your cortisol. When our cortisol levels are too high, it's switching off ovulation. And that's an evolutionary response. It's literally going back to the times of famines, saber-toothed tigers, plagues. We're in a plague at the moment. And the body is like, it's literally shutting off. It's like, no, now is not a safe time to procreate. Now is not a safe time to conceive. So we're predominantly right now, we're looking at stress being the main cause. So how can we support the body? How can we support the adrenal glands, the nervous system, that stress response is by looking at, again, nourishing the body with certain foods. Again, all your root veggies. Like I'd say people are sick of hearing me talking about root veggies. I'm like, just get your root veggies into you, please. But specific ones being the likes of sweet potato, beetroot, carrots, parsnips, if you can tolerate them. And potatoes are great. Like there's nothing, people feel that like regular potatoes are bad for you, they're unhealthy. They're not. They're a great source of vitamin C. They're fantastic. It's just for some people, they can't tolerate them because they're part of the nightshade family and they contain salicylates, so they're inflammatory. So it's just being mindful of that. If you don't have any inflammatory conditions, if you don't have excessive PMS, then I'd be saying work away on your potatoes. Like health is subjective to the person. Again, everybody's body is different. Everybody can tolerate different foods. Like for some people, like I'm always saying that nuts are such a healthy food for people, healthy fat, healthy source of protein, brilliant food to snack on. If I eat nuts, I die. I'm allergic. So it's like health is subjective. So it's looking what your body and your constitution can tolerate. So looking at getting your root veggies in to help strip out the excess cortisol. But the thing is, when we're looking at the body, it's our liver that metabolizes hormones and toxins and drugs and medications and everything. So you have to make sure that your liver is working correctly. And then how we excrete it is through our poop. So we metabolize in the liver and then we poop it out. So we have to make sure that we are getting enough fiber. Hence, again, your root veggies or your oats, again, if you can tolerate them. So looking at liver support. Food wise, you're looking at your dark leafy greens. So kale, rocket is really good. Anything that tastes kind of bitter will stimulate the bile response to help flush out the liver. So any kind of bitter foods, lemons, citrusy foods, then again, walnuts, avocado, these are really good liver detoxifying foods, sorry. And then looking at your fiber then to poop it out. Herbally wise, like I never, as a herbalist, like I treat the person, I don't treat a condition. And something that a lot of people don't realize is how potent herbs are. And they think because it's natural, it won't have any side effects or anything. Anything that has a physiological effect on the body can have either a positive or a negative physiological effect. So you have to be really mindful. But some of the safer herbs, especially for liver support, are the likes of dandelion root and burdock root. They have different affinities. Now, there's another one, milk thistle, which I know is so common, and I love milk thistle, but there's a very big but. Milk thistle can stop your pill from working. It can stop medication from working. That alongside St. John's wort, because how they work is what's known as the P450 pathway in the liver. That's what metabolizes medications. It can act as a barrier for that P450 pathway. So it can stop you from actually metabolizing certain medications, the pill being one of them. So any woman who's on the pill, avoid milk thistle so that you don't get caught. I have seen people get caught by taking milk thistle. If you're not on the pill, you can take it, but it shouldn't be taken long term because it can actually have a negative loop effect and end up causing excess estrogen. Not causing excess estrogen, but like recirculating it back into the system. So it's just being a little mindful there. But so the other ones that I always say is the dandelion root, beautiful herb for liver support, as long as you don't have any gallbladder issues or any blocked bile ducts. You can work away on dandelion root, and then dandelion root, especially like when we're looking at PMS symptoms as well, when we're looking at the energetics with herbs. This is why I love herbs, because we are always looking at the energetics too. Like milk thistle would be indicated for someone who's very weepy and very sad and just crying and can't stop crying, whereas dandelion root is indicated for someone who's really irritated, like, you know, it's like everything just grates on your nerves and you're going to throw someone through a wall, or you're going to punch your partner. Don't punch your partner. I do not advocate violence, but you have that feeling. So that's when dandelion root is indicated. And then burdock root, another beautiful herb, another beautiful hepatic liver herb, and that's indicated for anyone who has any skin conditions, because it has such an affinity for the skin, especially like that hormonal acne. So yeah, so a good liver support, and then nervous system support too for that time. And what I'm always recommending is methylated B complex, because when we're stressed, and then which everybody is to a certain degree, like I read a research study recently that we are in a global state of PTSD. Like the whole world is in a state of PTSD, and it's of course they are. So everyone's nervous system is really kind of shot right now. So supporting the nervous system with your methylated B complex as well. Certain B vitamins are needed for hormone production and function. And then your essential fatty acids. Again, we need fats. Like the brain is the fattiest tissue in the entire body. We need healthy fats. Get rid of your non-fat, no fat, low fat diets. I am begging you, because it's just causing you more harm than good. And then your magnesium too, for nourishing that nervous system. Like when we're looking at the nervous system, the best way, now I know, well, I don't know, I hope nobody sees me because I look at straight out of the gym. But anyway, I want to show you over the camera. But like when we're looking at our nervous system, so here's a wire. We have the outer coating of the wire, and we have the same thing in our nervous system, and it's called the myelin sheath. And we need magnesium for that outer coating to be produced. So when we don't have enough magnesium and we don't have enough B vitamins, what you're getting then, this is so dangerous, this is such a health hazard in my house, but what you're getting then is just the wires that are sticking out, and that's when you're feeling nervy and wiry.
Yeah, I actually had a gorgeous boss before, Jess, in Australia, and she told me at the time that magnesium, she started taking the supplements and they really helped her sleep. She couldn't sleep before that, so really natural and powerful.
Oh, magnesium, like it's the most underrated supplement out there, but people don't realize how quickly we become depleted in magnesium because it's a water soluble mineral. So we pee it out, especially pregnant women, they need extra magnesium. But as well in Ireland, the soil quality in Ireland isn't rich enough in magnesium. So we need to be supplemented.
That's good to know. I never heard of that. Thanks so much. I've gained so much. I can't wait to listen back and take some notes on all the vegetables, because really listening to you, even though I love food, it's nearly making me fall in love with the properties of food and how beneficial they are again. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, no bother. But that's the thing, like the father of medicine, of modern medicine, Hippocrates, what he said was, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. There's vitamins, minerals, nutrients that are in our food that's there for a purpose. That's how we're supposed to nourish ourselves, is through our food, not food like substances, like all your processed foods, like your people, please don't hate me now, but with the likes of like your box cereal and all these things that are fortified with vitamins, we can't actually absorb those vitamins and minerals that are in those foods. You're essentially eating cardboard. So if you can get whole food, single ingredient food, you're going to see massive differences in the likes of your PMS and your hormones and all that. Sorry, I'll stop ranting.
I know that you've got wellness, women's wellness courses coming up in September, and I'm so excited for any woman that listens to you or learns from you, because I've gained so much in the last year myself. So we checked online, the 6th of September 2021, you have an 8-week course online starting for the first time. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What's going to happen over the 8 weeks? What's kind of the general focus of that course?
So it's an all-round course. Straight away, the questions that I've been getting in is, is it a weight loss? Is it this, is that? And I'm like, no, it's not weight loss course. There's an element to it if you want to have a weight loss course. But what happens is, when we're focusing on whole body health, mind, body, soul, hormones, when you see what types of foods you should be eating for your hormones, what we do see then is that it's a very nice side effect, is that weight tends to come off then, purely because we're reducing inflammation within the body. When we have inflammation, we tend to hold on to excess fat. So the course is really designed around learning. It's more educational. It's learning about your cycles. It's learning about your hormones, what hormones do what, how they're interacting with each other, and how they're making you feel as a person. So I have it tied in then with the mind, body, soul element, which is really looking at the nervous system, because so many people have such high anxiety right now that I really want people to focus on overall health. And I feel that if we can help to reduce the anxiety, everything else tends to fall into place as well. Again, we're looking at the nervous system. Everything is stored within the nervous system. I've done a lot of work around somatic therapy, a lot of work around different dynamics in psychotherapies, and I really want to incorporate them in as well. When we can help nourish the nervous system on a physical and an emotional level, things kind of tend to fall into place. So we're looking at diet, we're looking at a little bit of exercise, and the exercise it's not geared towards body composition or anything like that. It's just to get the body moving and get those endorphins released. And they're home workouts that can be done within 20 to 30 minutes, nice and easy, and you can mix them up all you want. Then the mindfulness side then as well. And then I have because I love music is something that brings me so much joy, and dance. So I have like different playlists for the different your different phases of your cycle, and between what do I have? I have a period playlist, which I love, and then I have your follicular and ovulation playlist, and I have that's a very sensual playlist, really connecting back in with that feminine energy, with that divine feminine energy, exactly right into the sacral. And then I have your luteal phase playlist, so that's your PMS playlist, where you're just feeling really low, and sometimes you need to feel the feelings, and sometimes you can't get there yourself, and music can help bring you to that, and you can get a good release. So there's different elements in it.
The women of the world need this. Wow. Wow. I love how thorough you are with what you've done for the course, in planning it, preparing it, and from your own experience and all that you know. Wow. I'm so excited for anyone. I nearly feel emotional thinking about women doing the course. So many people need it like ourselves.
That's amazing, Orla. Best of luck with that. It's going to be fab. we normally ask the question, what does positivity mean for you? I'm just thinking about the amount of stuff online with body positivity, and I've listened to your podcasts, and you know, in one of them you talked about looking at your own body and you were calling it the Corona 15 with a bit of weight that you put on in lockdown, and how we should treat our bodies even when we think we don't love them. So can I change this question slightly today and say, what does body positivity mean for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. And that it's such a relevant question. And it is, I call it my quarantine 15. I put on my 15 pounds, and I struggled with that when I really struggled with that coming to the end of the lockdown. And then when the gyms opened up, especially more so when the gyms opened up and I went back in and I was looking in the mirror in the gym and I was looking at other girls and I was like, geez, they stayed in great shape, whatever. And then I heard that voice in my head and I was like, no, 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 no. This is not who we are. And I remember going home and getting completely nudies, stood in front of the mirror and to all the parts that I was given out about earlier on that day. And I was like, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. You have been here for me. You're supporting me. Now, one thing is though, is that when it comes to affirmations, I'm not a huge affirmation fan. I get the process, but I'm very much, if it's not a true feeling, don't say it. So instead of saying I love you, what I now say is, even though I don't feel my best, or even though I don't feel fully worthy right now, I still love you and you are worthy of love. You are lovable. So it's acknowledging that, yes, I may be a little bit insecure, but I still feel lovable and worthy. Does that make sense?
Yes. I've heard the structure of that sentence before in the process of EFT tapping.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, even though I have this headache, I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Accept myself. Yeah.
And
yeah, I love you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think it sets the mind in a different direction and takes the pressure off, and then the pain just goes.
Yeah, but that's it. It's being accepting of yourself. So even though I may not feel my leanest or my strongest, I'm still worthy of love and acceptance. And that's it. Everybody on this earth is worthy of love and acceptance, even though there may be something that they're not fully happy with or fully proud of. Everybody has those things, but even though, you're still worthy.
Yes. So Orla, if you have one piece of wisdom to share with us, what would that be?
One piece of wisdom. Oh, okay. There's a lot. One piece of wisdom. The one thing that I'm focusing on really at the moment, and I think that everyone would benefit from, and this is like simple, but compassion. I wish if we can live and come from a place of compassion and understanding, of having empathy, of wanting to, with the people that we interact with the people in our lives, with the people that we just pass on the street, if we can hold a little bit of compassion for everyone right now, because I feel that we all just want to be understood. And if we can, as I said earlier to yourselves, I was like, if we can all forget about the having to be right in any scenario in life, and instead of having to be right, want to understand each other, want to understand people, and always come from a place of compassion.
That's powerful. Imagine if everybody actually put that into practice.
Yeah, the world would be rainbows and sunshines and unicorns, and I'd love it.
Definitely.
Actually, we met a woman at the weekend who has maybe a 10 or 11-year-old daughter, and she asked her what's her favorite color, and she said, "Mommy, the rainbow." I never heard of a child saying that before. I thought that was brilliant. Kids are so
I love that. That's brilliant. It's so diverse. It's like, I don't have to pick. It's like I can have options. It's like, yeah, I love that.
Oh, it's brilliant. Orla, you have this incredible podcast the last 2 years. We know your background in helping people one-on-one with homeopathy and all of that. And also you're doing courses beginning in September. But could you tell us in your own voice, what is the positive ripple effect that you'd like to have on the world right now?
Ooh, the positive ripple effect I'd like to have in the world right now. Helping, literally just helping. That's literally it. It's like if I can, my goal, and when I decided to go down the holistic medicine road, I had said to myself, if I could help one person, then that's my mission completed. And over the last few years, in different ways now, and I don't want this to sound like egotistical or anything like that, but like getting the phone calls from women who've tried to conceive for years, being on the journey with couples, helping women get their period back. Like I do period dances in my house when I get a text message. I'm like, yes, the period is back. So yeah, the positive ripple effect is just if I can get women bleeding, I am the happiest woman alive. Simple as that. I was like, this is gas. I do sing, Let It Go, but I sing Let It Flow from Frozen. I'm just like, let it flow, like let women bleed, just get their real periods back and let them connect back in with themselves. If I can leave that, and if I could make, again, pass on, like I said earlier, just if we can all be that little bit more compassionate to each other, like come from a place of understanding, then I'll be happy with that.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. We know from people we've chatted, and even from our own experience, our own benefits that we've got from listening to you. You've helped me so much in the last 2 years. Thank you so much for that, for my own personal experience of being a woman and having periods and trying to understand myself. And really, Orla, I hope you, I know you don't come across as egotistical at all, but I really hope you understand the level of greatness that you are. And I have to share this story. I chatted to my auntie recently who's in her 50s. She's over her periods, and her daughter, my cousin, went to some talk about period health, and she learned about the phases of the cycle: spring, summer, autumn, winter. And my auntie heard it for the first time after her periods had ended. And as a woman, she said, oh my God, that information is useless to me now. If only I had heard that years ago. And my heart dropped. I took a dagger to the heart. And so I'm sitting across from you now. I'm so grateful that there's someone like you in the world delivering the education and information from your own experience and with all the people that you've worked with. And women gain so much, and men from everything that you have out in the world and what you're going to continue to do. So thank you so much. Every moment I cried during my period over the last couple of years. Now I have a greater understanding, and I've come more home to myself even with that. So I want that for everyone. But thank you for all of this.
Thank you.
Thanks a million, Orla. I remember the day when I think it was actually before we even started the podcast together, and Sarah said, oh my God, Emer knows this girl in Galway, and she's talking about hormones and periods. You have to listen to this podcast. And I would have always been of the attitude, Sarah's completely different. When she has her periods, she tells everybody about it. She's always talking about her periods. And I'd be like, it's grand. Like, you know, but I don't know if I was just a bit shut off from it, like not that connected to it, but I always just got on with it. And
yeah, but I think as well, it's the society that we've grown up in. We've always had to hide these things. A period, there's always been shame around periods, and this goes back to biblical times. Like it's in the Bible, for if a man is to lay with a woman who is on her bleed, he is dirty and sinful, and he has to be cleansed for 7 days. Like, and that has continued over the years. Like I could go on a rant about that for an hour, so I won't. But it's like there's so much shame that has been perpetuated into women, into women's bodies, into their periods. And for me, it's the one thing I'm just trying to help break that cycle. And for me, I love for women to be, I love for women to really embody themselves and really embody their periods and like that period power. But then as well, I love for men to understand, because I've had different experiences with different men. I've had some men completely shame me for my period. I've had other men who have been so supportive. Like I'm someone, I have endometriosis. I used to suffer horrifically with my periods, and I'd be bent over, and I had one partner and he was amazing with them. And he would get my my period scarf, we'd call it, and he'd wrap it around my stomach and he'd pull it tight. He'd massage my back, he'd hold my hair back while I'd be puking over the toilet. Then I had another guy years and years and years and years ago who told me that I was disgusting and was trying to kick me out of the car for having a period. And I'm like, I'm just trying to educate men as well, because when we speak of periods as disgusting, or when they say, oh, that's rotten, well, I don't need to hear about that. I'm like, no, no, no. When you say that, it's an automatic rejection of a woman. So if you have a daughter, do you really want to reject your daughter in that sense? And that's going to stick with her running for the rest of her life, that the main man in her life is essentially rejecting her. I'm like, that's going to leave a lasting mark. So learn about it. And I feel for men that it's not that they really think it's disgusting. It's more the fact that they don't have the knowledge around it. And I feel that when we don't have the knowledge around something, we're scared of it. Whereas if they can learn about it together in an open conversation, I feel it's so much better. Sorry, I know I went off on a rant again there.
That's amazing. They were very important messages at the end. So thanks so much for sharing everything that you share with the heart that you share it with. And thanks so much for accepting our invitation to come on here. And
thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, hopefully we know people that you don't know, and the message gets spread even further.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, well done. Pat yourself on the back. You're officially now a partner in positivity with us. If this is your first episode, we're so grateful. If this is your 40th episode, we're equally as grateful for your ears, for your heart, for taking this time out for yourself and committing to your own positive mental health journey. Our intention for this podcast is for you to feel a little bit better afterwards. So we hope you take some time now to check in with yourself. How did you feel before? How do you feel now? And we've definitely done our job if you feel a little bit better, and especially if you want to come back for more next week. If you do want to support us, we actually have a Ko-fi donation page. It's ko-fi.com/partners in positivity. We really value the work that we're doing. We know there's so much positive and negative in the world, and we want to contribute to people feeling their best. So we appreciate all of the donations we've had so far and welcome any more that are on the way. Thank you in advance. Also, if you got something of value from this and you want to share with friends or family to add to this trend of positivity in the world, we would love to be tagged in any posts on social media. You know where to find us. Other than that, guys, have an incredible week ahead, and we look forward to feeding you some more nourishment for that beautiful mind, that beautiful garden of yours next week.